We begin your 4 to 5 with some breaking news. A second autopsy report was released for George Floyd. The family says that this independent autopsy shows that he died of suffocation due to pressure on his neck and back. This autopsy shows different results from the autopsy that was used in the criminal complaint against former officer Derek Chauvin. Those results ruled out suffocation or strangulation as a possible cause of death. Floyd died a week ago after an officer held his knee on Floyd's neck for several minutes. Chauvin is now facing third-degree murder and manslaughter charges. There will be a memorial for Floyd here in North Carolina on Saturday. The memorial will be from 1 to 3, but a specific location has not been released yet. Happening right now, High Point Chief of Police is addressing City Council about last night's protests. We will take a listen when they begin a little bit later on. In the meantime, I want to say welcome to your 4 to 5. I'm Taheshah Moyes alongside Eric Chilton and Christian Morgan. Maddie Gardner has the day off. This is an interactive newscast, so we want you to be a part of the conversations that we have here on the show. You can do that by joining the WFMY News 2 live stream either on Facebook, YouTube, or on Twitter. And make sure you use that hashtag 4 to 5. Getting a look at your local headlines now. Greensboro fire officials say that a fire at a mattress firm was set intentionally. Officials did not provide any information about suspects, and they did not say if the fire was linked to the weekend protests. The department is still investigating.
Well, a man in Minneapolis is in custody after driving through a group of protesters. So I'll give you a disclaimer here. We are not going to show you video of the actual situation, but we will show you parts of the protest. So take a look here. Apparently a tanker truck drove through the crowd on an interstate Sunday night. The truck came to a stop and was surrounded by protesters. That's what you see on your screen. Now, state police said no immediate injuries were reported. Officials say the protest was relatively peaceful until that moment. The interstate had to be closed at 5 p.m. Officials still investigating now how the trucker got on the road after the shutdown. The trucking company Keenan Advantage Group is cooperating with authorities about this investigation.
In Texas, George Floyd's children participated in a Black Lives Matter rally on Sunday. Quincy Floyd and Connie Mason are Floyd's son and daughter. The siblings said they appreciate the support they're seeing around them, but when asked about the violent protests and riots, the two said that's not what the Black Lives Matter movement is about.
To me, I like to say I appreciate everything everybody doing, and I understand it is a lot, and some people got their own way to react, but I don't think violence is the right way to do it. The violence is not the right way to do it. Don't fight fire with fire.
I mean, tearing up things, it's not going to solve anything. My dad is in peace, and we have to be the ones that deal with all this stress.
Floyd's body will be returned to his hometown in Houston for burial. That's according to the mayor of Houston. And back here in the Triad, Mayor Nancy Vaughn is issuing a citywide curfew for Greensboro. The curfew starts tonight and goes from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. It follows 2 days of protests that started peaceful and turned violent overnight. Protesters damaged businesses still reeling from the coronavirus pandemic. Graham and Raleigh city officials also enacted a curfew. Now, as many of you try to process the images you've seen over the weekend, I wanted to pose this question to you to get a discussion started. So I asked today on my Facebook page, is there a right way to protest? And if so, what is it? Let's get into some of the comments of what you all had to say. Cecil writes, I personally prefer peaceful protesting. I also can see why some choose the opposite. They don't feel their voice is being heard, so if they riot, then they will be heard. Elizabeth writes, the peaceful protest is fine, but when you have other people coming from outside of Greensboro, that is when the problem starts, and there really is nothing you can do but curfew the confines of the city. And finally here, Alex writes, secure permits, organize, petition the men and women we elected to have our voices heard in Raleigh and Washington. The more property that's destroyed and looted, the more the original message is lost. And I think that last comment really says it all. You know, a lot of the protesters that we did have in the Triad over the weekend, they were taking those right steps, getting the petition started, but it's kind of when nightfall came, things changed.
Yeah, and it was the kind of thing too, I think, where, and we're seeing this, it's almost like a common thread with a lot of the protests. They start out fine, and then as things go on and it goes on longer, and sometimes, like as Taheshah said, when it goes into night, and then there's a different element that gets involved. Violence is not the right way to handle it, in my personal opinion. And I don't think that's really what, definitely, that is not what Greensboro in North Carolina is all about. Violence is not the answer, but protesting, no problem with that.
And it's something we will continue to keep our eyes on for sure, especially with this curfew going into effect. I know that there were potentially some protests planned. Will those happen or will they not? Remains to be seen at this point. All right. And let's take a look at the weather forecast. I know a lot of people have been watching and wondering about that as well. So let's check in.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, Taheshah, with so much going on in the world and so much crazy right now, at least we can kind of take a step back and enjoy the nice weather that we do have in store. In fact, it's been quite some time since we had such nice weather, and especially when it wasn't raining. Temperature-wise right now, we are in the 70s across the area, lower 70s in Greensboro, 72 in Asheboro, 76 in High Point, and 73 in Lexington as well. And just part of the reason it feels so nice outside is because the air is so much drier. We don't have all that humidity to deal with. Dew points are in the 40s right now, and this is really the last day that we're going to have that low humidity, because as we go through the week, that is going to start to creep back up. And so will our rain chances by the time that we get to Thursday and Friday of this week. But as we take a look at our current situation, we do have high pressure in control of our weather, and it will stay in control of our weather for the next several days, keeping those dry and keeping those sunny conditions around. But by the time we get to Wednesday, we're going to be warming up in quite a big way into the mid and upper 80s by Wednesday, and I do think it's possible that we could have our first 90-degree day of the year in the Triad on our hands by the time that we get to Thursday. So we are warming up and we are going to get humid, but that's just kind of that typical summer-like pattern that we'll be heading back our way again. Tonight, it'll be all clear and comfortable overnight, still keeping that lower humidity around at temperatures in the mid and upper 50s for overnight lows. For your Tuesday, though, it's still another nice day. We are warming up a bit, though. We'll be into the mid and upper 70s for Tuesday afternoon, but it's still going to be a bright and sunny day, a little bit warmer and a little bit more humidity, although it still will be pretty comfortable outside. 7-day forecast, 84 is the forecast for your Tuesday. By the time we get to Wednesday, again, that's when we start that big warm-up trend, making it into the upper 80s, near 90, but I do think on Thursday is when we could cross that 90-degree mark for the first time in the Triad this year so far. And of course, with that general daytime heating and the extra moisture in the atmosphere, we'll have to watch for some pop-up storms on Thursday and Friday and even Saturday afternoons. But Sunday and Monday look to cool off a little bit, and we drop back in humidity a little bit too.
All right, let's get to your 4 to 5 roundup right now. The city of High Point announced the High Point transit system has suspended all transit services indefinitely due to a confirmed positive COVID-19 case. This went into effect as of today. The city says anyone who needs transportation for dialysis treatment can still get a ride. So passengers with questions about service alternatives should call this number, 336-889-7433. Today is a day of mourning in the state of North Carolina. Governor Cooper is calling for all North Carolinians to grieve the 100,000 people in America who have lost their lives to COVID-19. The governor says that this is an opportunity to remind ourselves that our death count is not just a number. It represents people, communities, and families in mourning. At 12, more than 100 leaders of faith-based organizations led a national moment of silence. Governor Cooper will order all state flags to be lowered to half-staff in memory of those who passed away from the coronavirus. And starting today, anyone visiting a county facility in Forsyth County is required to wear a face covering. The county says maintaining social distancing is also important. So you're being asked to not go into a county building if you are sick. Visitors may be asked some screening questions before entering. And farmers can now apply for aid through USDA's Coronavirus Assistance Program. The program gives farmers direct payments to handle impacts of the pandemic. Farmers can get up to 80% of the maximum total payment that they would get if they were approved. After that, another payment could be made at a later date, but that is depending on the amount of funds left over. The application and payment calculator are available online. Those applications are accepted through August 28th. We are taking a break right now. More of the 4 to 5 when we come back, but chat with us in the WFMY News 2 live stream on Facebook. Mayor Nancy Vaughn is issuing a citywide curfew for Greensboro. The curfew starts tonight and goes into effect from 8 p.m. until 6 a.m. It follows 2 days of protests that started peaceful and turned violent overnight. Some of the protesters there maybe damaged businesses that are still reeling from the coronavirus pandemic. WFMY News 2's Candace Redd spoke with owners still picking up the pieces.
I understand the anger.
Over the weekend, hundreds of protesters took to the streets of downtown Greensboro demanding justice.
I've watched George Floyd being killed. It brings you to tears to know that law enforcement is doing this.
Protests started off mostly peaceful during the daytime on Saturday and Sunday, but turned destructive at night. Police say outsiders looted and vandalized at least 75 businesses along the Elm Street corridor, including the International Civil Rights Center and Museum.
We have video footage of the person who actually threw the rock right about here into the glass, and others around him asked him, why did he do that? Whatever he threw, it hit the window and on a single impact fractured.
The museum plans on handing the video footage over to the police. The museum is also focused on protecting Black history in the city that birthed the national sit-in movement.
There is a proper way to demonstrate, and this museum has set the tone for that February 1 of 1960 to July 25th of 1960. Peaceful, nonviolent protest.
The destruction to downtown Greensboro comes as restaurants, retailers, and other businesses struggle to stay afloat amid the coronavirus pandemic.
We're all in this together. As I walk around the community, I see people in significant need. It's just heartbreaking to see businesses that were opening back up.
Now, curfew does include some exceptions like law enforcement, firefighters, and other frontline workers. If you're traveling to and from or traveling to and from work, I should say, from home during those curfew hours, you are also exempt from this order. The Interactive Resource Center is offering shelter for anyone that needs a place to stay during curfew. We'll be right back.
Hey, check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Hello, 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 all. I hope all is well.
Yes, I will give you another mic check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Mic check. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
You know, now more than ever, people are looking to get out and just do something, do anything. Did you know there are a lot of great inexpensive options? They're just a short drive away. Lisa J. of the Destination magazine gave me a few options.
So Lisa, everybody is dying to get out, just to go somewhere, even if it's only a half day's drive, just something. What's your recommendation? You had talked to me about Burke County. Let's find out, where is Burke County?
Burke County is about a 2-hour drive from the Triad. It's up 40 going towards the mountains. So it's the Morganton area, Valdez, Linville Falls area. It's just breathtaking.
So when you talk about Burke County, we head out that way. We're only driving a little more than 2 hours maybe. What is there to do if you had to pick maybe 2 or 3 of the best things there?
There are so many, but I would say one of my favorites is Thermal Valley hang gliding. It's absolutely breathtaking to get to see the views, a lot of fun. And then you, of course, have your hiking and waterfalls with the Stone Mountain, Pisgah Forest, Lake James.
So I'm getting the feeling it's really more for the adventurous type, maybe?
Yes, it can be definitely adventurous. You can go at your own speed, whether it's the hiking, but then you can go off and do biking, and so it's a mix of both. It's definitely a beautiful area. It's kind of tagged as a nature's playground.
And one last question, affordability. I'm assuming it's a little more of a rural area, so it's probably cheaper than if you're trying to go to, say, a Charlotte or a Raleigh.
Oh, most certainly. You do have, wonderful restaurants and areas that, things that you can do there, but definitely affordable and enjoyable.
Lisa, thanks so much, and we look forward to talking with you about another local destination coming up.
Yeah, so in the next half hour, we're going to chat with Lisa again. And this one's a little bit closer to home, or closer to the Triad, we should say. I've also linked you to Lisa's website through ours. Just look for this story at WFNYnews2.com. Lots of good options out there. You just got to find it, right? All right, we're going to take a short break. There'll be more of the 4 to 5 coming up in just a little bit.
All right, Eric, I was going to say, you didn't even give me a chance to say maybe I want to go hang gliding.
Well, look, I'll sign you up. I thought we were done. I'll sign you up.
It'll take my breath away, like you said, because I'll be so scared. But I'll try it. All right, more of the 4 to 5 when we come back.
What's up, George? Mic check 1 2 3. Sorry. Mic check 1 2 3 4 5 6 7 8. Mic check. Mic check. Mic check. Hello. Hello. Hello.
Eric? If you take a scroll on social media through Twitter, you're going to see a lot of tweets about George Floyd, of course. WFNY News 2's Amanda Ferguson shows us how our sports community is responding.
Most sports are at a standstill, but that isn't stopping the sports community from speaking out about what we've been experiencing this week across the country. Some of our local coaches taking to Twitter. Wake Forest women's basketball coach Jen Hoover saying, "Words do not seem enough right now. I was taught to love, not hate, to treat others as you want to be treated, to respect all, fear none, to serve and help others, to have a positive impact on all that you come in contact with, and leave every place better than you found it." She continues by saying, "I cannot pretend to know what it is like to be judged by the color of my skin, but I do know we all bleed red. My heart is broken. I find myself praying for peace, love, and unity. We must be part of the change. We all deserve better, and we all must do better." UNCG's men's basketball coach Wes Miller saying, "The murder of George Floyd is an absolute tragedy. My thoughts and prayers are with his loved ones. This has to stop. We must all take individual ownership to create real change. I stand firmly beside everyone protesting racial injustice. We must do better. We can do better." And the Carolina Panthers issuing a statement saying in part, The Carolina Panthers send our deepest condolences to the Floyd family. We must work together and take meaningful, sustained action to find solutions and enact change that is so desperately needed to end racial and social injustice. We are committed to doing our part. And Michael Jordan speaking out. He says in part, "I am deeply saddened, truly pained, and plain angry. We have had enough." He continues by saying, "Every one of us needs to be part of the solution, and we must work together to ensure justice for all." Some powerful words there, and that's not all. Coaches, athletes, and organizations all across the country writing things like this on social media.
I'll tell you what, weather-wise, we are enjoying some really nice weather. So that's a break from all the crazy that's going on right now. And in fact, we're going to keep this nice weather around for quite a while. Check out that Carolina blue sky all across the Triad this afternoon. Temperatures are comfortable in the mid-70s, but the big deal is the fact that we do have that lower humidity in play, and that's why it feels so much better outside. Dew points in the 40s, but it is going to start creeping back in, that humidity will, as we go through the rest of the week. High pressure in control of our weather, but as it slides off the coast, we start a warming trend as we go through the middle of the week. So we'll be in the 80s tomorrow, upper 80s on Wednesday, and I think it's possible we could get our first 90-degree day in the Triad of the year coming up on this Thursday. Of course, it is June now, and so we will be heading into that hot and humid pattern for a while. Overnight, clear, pretty comfortable. It'll be cool in the mid-50s for overnight lows. For your Tuesday, it's an absolutely gorgeous day. Again, a little extra humidity and a tad bit warmer too. 84 for your high on Tuesday, but it's still a really nice day of weather. So we're warming up as we go through the middle of the week, and then we'll have to watch, just because of daytime heating and some general moisture in the atmosphere, we'll watch Thursday and Friday and Saturday afternoons for the chance of some pop-up storms. But we're drying out and cooling down a little bit heading through the end of the weekend and into next week.
Welcome to your 4 to 5. I'm Taheshah Moyes alongside Christian Morgan and Eric Chilton, who are working from home as we continue to practice social distancing. Maddie Gardner has the day off. Now, you know, this 4 to 5 is an interactive conversation where we don't talk at you, we talk with you. So be sure to join the conversation in the WFMY News 2 live stream, both on Twitter, YouTube, and on Facebook. Let's take a look at some of our headlines right now happening in Greensboro. Mayor Nancy Vaughn is issuing a citywide curfew for Greensboro. Curfew starts tonight, going into effect from 8 p.m. until 6 a.m. It follows 2 days of protests that started peaceful and turned violent overnight. There were people that damaged businesses that were still reeling from the coronavirus pandemic. Graham and Raleigh city officials have also enacted a curfew. In the meantime, Governor Roy Cooper deployed up to 450 National Guardsmen Sunday. The governor said the deployment was in response to requests from local officials. He said he knows this is a painful moment for our nation. Governor Cooper spoke with George Floyd's sister, who lives in Hope County, North Carolina. He said we have to constructively channel emotions to mobilize accountability and action.
While I cannot bring her brother back, I can work for justice in his name.
The National Guard is supporting local authorities while protesters practice their right to peacefully demonstrate. North Carolina is now one of 15 states that activated their National Guard for those protests. And you take a look at these images from protests all across the country. They are impossible to ignore, but there are so many emotional ones. So we are going behind the barricades to get to the reason why, in this moment, they're taking a stand. We head to Dallas for this candid conversation.
We have a long history of systemic racism in America, but its root is established deeply here in our city, right here in Dallas.
The harvest of unrest in our communities today grows from a seed planted at our nation's founding. It was the early promise of freedom for all, a promise that did not apply if you were black.
Their job is to protect our communities, and they're not doing that. They're literally killing us. How are you going to keep killing unarmed men? How many more people does it take?
We're tired of being victims. We're tired. We're oppressed. We've been oppressed for years. Enough is enough. Now, either you can help us or you can be against us. But we're going to do the same thing.
These men and women taking to the streets are part of a long line of Americans, black, white, and brown, who've protested a long legacy of racial inequality.
We don't get it shut down! We don't get it shut down! We don't get it shut down!
To see that we're not in this fight by ourselves, because it's so often, I know for the last 15 plus years that I've been out here, all of the protests that I've ever gone to, it's always us as African American alone.
My belief in God fuels my action and concern and love for people.
This evening is about justice for the inequality of black people in our system.
These past few nights, nonviolence has been the tool of choice for most people, but as we've seen, certainly not the tool of choice for all.
If you don't come in love, hate is gonna come. That's enough said, man.
The peaceful part isn't as important for me, but the main goal is to be heard, to have justice.
Just like if you stick a wounded dog so many times, eventually he gonna bite, right?
We're tired. It's that simple. We're tired. So until we get justice, we're going to keep doing this. We're going to keep doing this. We're going to make them work.
Well, a 12-year-old song is going viral, and it's for the message in his lyrics. So Kedron Bryant wrote a song about being a young black man in America. The song highlights the turmoil America is seeing currently. Take a listen to this.
Doing all that I can to stand.
Bryant's Instagram caption reads, "Just singing what's on my heart. I hope this blesses someone." The song was released shortly after George Floyd's death. And that kid, by the way, incredible heart and incredible voice.
Yeah, and you know, what I've noticed, you know, when we go through tragedies like this, it's with a lot of pain that a lot of music comes out, because sometimes as a musician, you don't know what to say, but you can sing, you can write it out, you know?
Yes, and that's exactly right. Music is, I've always said, it's the expression of the soul, and it doesn't matter who you are, where you're from, or where you live. It's kind of the universal thing, you know?
Yeah, and I encourage you all at home, if you haven't seen that video, sometimes, you know, it also takes a younger person to kind of put things into perspective for us, the innocence through a child's eyes. So look that video up on Facebook if you haven't already, and Instagram as well, and take a listen that way. All right, let's get you caught up on your 4 to 5 roundup right now. Governor Roy Cooper is extending the ban on shutting off utilities through July. The new executive order also puts a hold on evictions for the next 3 weeks. It went into effect on Saturday. So this order gives the extended time frame to pay rent and utility bills. Downtown Mount Airy is asking you to help keep everyone safe by wearing face coverings. The mill worker statue now has a mask and appears to be sewing masks. Stores have safety precautions in place as they reopen. So remember your 3 W's. Wash your hands, wear your face covering, and wait at least 6 feet apart. Sunday marked 1 year since the deadly shooting at a Virginia Beach municipal building. 12 people were shot and killed by a city engineer, Dwayne Craddock, who was targeting his coworkers. Police say he was then shot and killed. Craddock put in his letter of resignation the day before the shooting, but authorities are still working on a concrete motive. Protests are taking over headlines, but the coronavirus pandemic is still active, leaving many to wonder about the impact of these protests on the number of positive cases. Let's connect the dots on how one crisis could directly impact another.
As the country reels from not just a pandemic, but protests as well, officials worry that one crisis could actually make the other worse. Let's connect the dots. According to reports, there have been protests against police in at least 75 cities across the U.S. There have even been protests in European cities in the wake of George Floyd's death. And officials are worried those mass gatherings could increase the spread of COVID-19, just as many areas were seeing signs that it was slowing. And there is another factor causing concern. Atlanta's mayor pointed out that coronavirus appears to take a larger toll on communities of color. According to the New York Times, death rates for African Americans are double those of whites during this pandemic. This concern has led to calls from infectious disease experts for protesters to wear masks and practice social distancing, advice that is hard to take as large crowds march throughout the streets. All this has led some experts, like the former head of the Food and Drug Administration, to predict a new wave of coronavirus infections. Scientists are urging demonstrators to go get tested, but that could also be a problem. Some large cities like Los Angeles have shut down testing sites because of protests.
So today is the start of hurricane season, June the 1st, and officials are working on hurricane plans for the season. They have to take coronavirus into consideration here. The state's still preparing hurricane shelters to help people maintain social distancing. It's going to be difficult if we have to deal with this, but also they have to deal with anybody who's sick or in a high-risk group. They're building a budget that would plan to include protective equipment and cleanup costs as well. Emergency management teams across the South are worried about how to properly handle evacuations during a pandemic. Some states are considering possible use of hotels and other parts of school buildings besides gyms as smaller shelters.
Yeah, Eric mentioned it. It is June 1st, which means it is the official start of hurricane season. But as you well know, we've already had 2 named tropical systems in the Atlantic Basin. And if that's any indication, it could be a pretty active hurricane season. That doesn't mean that anything that forms will come our way. It just means that it could be an active season in the Atlantic Ocean. We still have plenty of names to go, but we had already had Arthur and Bertha, as you well know, here in the Triad. Well, they brought some rain to the Triad at least. Temperature-wise right now, things are all quiet and all clear, and it's sunny. Lower 70s across the area. High pressure in control of our weather, and it will stay in control of our weather over the course of really the remainder of the week. But as it starts to slide off the coast midweek, we start a warming trend with our winds coming out of the south. That not only brings us warmer air, it also brings us more humid air, so we're going to see our humidity levels go up as well. I think it's possible we could get our first 90-degree day of the year this week too. Rain chances Thursday, Friday, and Saturday, it's going to be your typical summer-like pattern where we watch for some pop-up storms each of those afternoons. Still going to be clear, still going to be comfortable overnight in the mid-50s. For your Tuesday, warming up a bit, and we'll add in a little extra humidity. It'll feel a little more like summer. 84 for your high on Tuesday. That warming trend continues, and we keep dry weather around until Wednesday, and then watching Thursday and Friday and Saturday for those pop-up storms. It's also getting warm too. I think our first 90-degree day could be on Thursday, but by the end of the weekend, on Sunday and Monday, we will dry out and we'll cool down a little bit too, and we'll also lose a little bit of that humidity. But it is getting into summertime, so we'll see more of those hot and humid days on the way.
You know, certain things have become very expensive since COVID-19, like toilet paper, for instance.
Right, you can't forget hand sanitizer and groceries, of course.
Yeah, at least for all of those things. You didn't buy it for a high price and then find out it's not the item you paid for. But there have been a whole lot of scams, that's right, of people promising PPE and then not delivering it.
Or claiming they have the, the good stuff, and then they give you the generic items.
Right, and you don't want that either, especially when
No.
you pay that high price. So a group of friends decided to change all that.
I have a close friend who's in the healthcare field, and he was talking about how he's experiencing great challenges just staying safe doing his job.
What our goal is to make sure that the right PPE suppliers are getting in contact with the right purchasers to make sure that moving forward, everybody has a trusted marketplace.
So these tech-talented friends created this website so that businesses can get the masks or gloves or whatever they need and not get scammed. So if you're a restaurant or you're a business and you're having a hard time getting those kinds of items for your employees, I need you to watch my story at 6 o'clock. All right. Hey, due to the protests, we've had a whole lot of questions about the spread of COVID-19 due to the protests, as well as questions about wearing masks still. Text your questions to 336-379-5775. That's not the correct graphic, of course, but our Cone Health experts are talking about that and more when we come back.
Hi there, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. A-Tech, 6 minutes.
little by little, but social distancing is still very much needed. So I found a state travel expert who has some ideas on short trip getaways that comply with the world we live in. Here's some of my conversation with Lisa J. from the Destination magazine.
Lisa, earlier we talked about Burke County. It's a little bit of a drive, but not bad. But now we're staying closer to home. Tell us a little bit about Stokes County and why you picked this as a place to feature with us today.
Yes, Eric. Stokes County, you can't go wrong with. Hanging Rock State Park is just absolutely stunning. But also you have, a little smaller, lying trails around that area, like the Tory's Den. It's right around in the area where you can go hiking without having to go right into the park.
Tell me, describe kind of the feeling of Stokes County. What do you get when they contact you or you talk to them and you're putting them in your issue of the Destination magazine? What's the feel of the area?
Stokes County to me makes me think of going to grandma's. It's just extremely laid back. It's warm and receiving. You just have a really good time.
So if people head out to Stokes County and they're thinking, okay, yes, I do want to get out in nature, but I still want to be able to come back and get a meal somewhere and that type of thing, what else can they do, or where could they go in Stokes County to do that?
Well, you have, my first and foremost favorite is Pretty's General Store. I'm a Southern girl at heart, so the fried liver mush sandwich in the back or the fried bologna sandwich in the back is always one of my go-tos. But they have a lot of different things, chicken salad and everything else, and a few other places in the area, Germantown, Walkertown, just several places in the area.
You had me at fried bologna. You can just stop right there. Thanks, Lisa. We appreciate your time today. Have a good one.
Sad to say, but true. By the way, I want to correct something there because she told me right after the interview she meant to say Walnut Cove, not Walkertown. She knows where that is. If you want to get in touch with the experts at the Destination magazine, all you have to do is go to our website, WFMYnews2.com, and we've got a link there for you. It's in there right now as we speak. So I talked to everybody on Facebook, and I was like, give me your go-to kind of close by getaway, and everybody was chiming in here. Look what Mary Jones says. She said, simply hike to Linville Falls, do the gorge, the falls, and a winery. That sounds awesome. Mimi Rose Murrow says Hanging Rock, the beaches, or Seagrove Pottery. That's not that far down 220. Lynn Campbell Sykes said Stone Mountain State Park. That is a good one. Scott Miles recommended Beaufort, North Carolina. That is beautiful there. It's one of mine and my wife's favorite places, he says. Do a guided bike tour or sailboat tour on a 52-foot catamaran, or sit in a giant swing and watch the boaters. There's nothing wrong with that. Judy Yarborough says simply Lake Reedsville. I have been there. My band has played there. We had a great time. There's so many little treasures, and the key here is that you can have fun. It doesn't cost, break the bank, and you can still practice social distancing for all of this.
Right, and with everyone commenting on your Facebook post, Chilton, for me it was kind of like a North Carolina bucket list, because there have been a couple places on that list that I visited, yes, and some other ones like, a new winery. I think I might have to try that out. What about you, Christian?
I'll be there with you.
I'll tell you what, we really live in sorry, I didn't mean to talk over you, but we really do live in such a really awesome place because we're right in the center. We've got the beaches down to our east and we have the mountains up to our west. It only is a couple hours in between the two. And so for me, as you both well know, I love the mountains. I went to school in our mountains of North Carolina, so any chance to get back there is good. And even if you can't go that far, we have so many great places, like she mentioned in Eric's story. We have so many great places where you can get out and hike and enjoy the weather like we have today. I mean, it's absolutely gorgeous. You can find those little places, especially, if you take a little day trip up to Boone or up to the mountains. It's a quick, easy day trip. You can hike, you can find little local places to eat. I mean, we really live in a great spot.
Yeah, and I guess the weather today would be perfect for going outside, Christian.
Yeah, I'll tell you what, I've really hoped that you've been able to get out and enjoy at least just for a few minutes. That was my challenge. If you follow me on social media, I said just get out, enjoy a couple minutes of it, and send me a picture, because it's not often that we get days like this, especially in June when it's typically supposed to be hot and muggy. And we are going to get there, though, by the end of the week. So take advantage of the weather that we have today. High pressure in control of our weather, keeping us nice and sunny. But as it slides off the coast to the east, we're going to lose that really nice, cool and dry air. We're going to warm up quite a bit, and we're also going to be getting muggy as we head towards the end of the week. Also watching Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. It's going to be our typical summer-like setup with a chance for some pop-up storms each of those afternoons. For now, it's absolutely gorgeous. In the lower and mid-70s across the area. Tonight, under clear skies, we'll drop down into the mid-50s. A little bit warmer tomorrow, still sunny, little extra humidity, and we'll top out in the mid-80s. Warming up, we could see our first 90-degree day of the year in the Triad by Thursday.
Coming up on WFMY News 2 at 5 o'clock, Mayor Nancy Vaughn issues a curfew for the city of Greensboro, which goes into effect at 8 o'clock tonight. We are breaking down what this curfew means for you, the rules, the penalties, and who is exempt. That's tonight on WFMY News 2 at 5.
Hey, buddy, check 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. We are talking about senior shoutouts. So we all want to honor our seniors this year since their graduations have been so badly affected by the pandemic. That's why we do these senior shout outs. We love these things. Here are some of the graduates that we are featuring today. Let's start out with Garrison Powell. He's a senior at Providence Grove High School, captain of the varsity football team, member of the Beta Club, and Golden Patriot recipient. Garrison is going to Western Carolina to pursue a degree in sports management. Good for you. Clarissa Barnett, graduating from Southern Alamance High School, a member of the school's Bells and Sons Honor Chorus, former competitive swimmer and cheerleader, going to Alamance Community College in the fall. And how about this? A University of Florida senior, Will Carden, is earning his PhD in chemistry. Yeah, he's not smart, is he? If you want to share senior shout outs with us, find this submission form. It's on our website. You submit the photos of your senior, not professional photos or yearbook, just your own photos. Give us their name and their school and maybe a personal message with your shout out. Some smart kids out there.
The Greensboro Science Center needs your help. The Science Center is asking for help naming 2 female fishing cats. So your choices for the pair are Trout and Corla, Perch and Koi, Katara and Cora, Hera and Athena, Arani and Arushi, Talise and Koshi. Those are all of your options there. Chilton, take a good look at this list. I'm going to ask you in a few moments which one you think should be it. So if you want to vote, all you need to do is go to the Science Center's website. That deadline to vote is tomorrow at 5 p.m. So you saw that list of names. Did you keep track of which one that you want to name those fishing cats, or you got to go back?
See, now I'm Googling it.
You're
I'm
Googling it
so I can pick one, because all those names, I couldn't even tell you. I couldn't pick one of those. Whatever happened to like Fred and Ethel? Can't we just do that?
I don't know if there's a write-in submission here. Maybe you can write those 2 in, see if they'll name it that way.
I think it should be Taheshah and Eric. That's
All
my
right,
opinion.
let's do it. Let's call up the Science Center. You have their number, right? All right, more of the 4 to 5 when we come back.
One, 2, 3, 4. Check, check. 1, 2, 3, 4. She's getting her stuff together. Check, check. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Hello, 1, 2, 9, 10, 11, 12.
Hey, ice cold milk and an Oreo cookie, they forever go together?
Hello, mic check, 1, 2, 3.
Hi, Callie. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6.
Property that were affected by 2 nights of brief unrest.